Jamie today for this? We're ready.
Good. Okay, I call this meeting to order. Let the record show that all commissioners are present. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Today, we're here to discuss and possible action on employee salaries for the budget year 2016. And the reason I'm having this meeting right now is because I learned a lesson from last year, is that last year I tried to do the salaries almost to the very end of the budget. But this time I want to do it at the beginning. That way we can, 80% of our budget goes to salaries, so I want to discuss it at the very beginning to see what direction the court wants to give us to go with. That way we can hatch this out at the very beginning. Once we get our salaries, I'm not saying the whole budget is set up, but if we got 80% of our budget already set up, at least we've got a lot to go. So I asked, and this group that's working with me in the budget, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Muskis, and myself, there's four of us. I said, let's attack the budget salaries first. And Ms. Barrera gave us a proposed budget, and I know there's a lot of flaws in it, but we need to start somewhere, and then we'll correct it, or let's chunk it and start all over again. But right now is the time to do it before we start talking about this. Okay. I'd like to hear some input from any commissioners before we start. Commissioner Flores, why don't you go first?
Well, my concern at this point concerning salaries is the employee that we have at the community center,
Okay.
and the title is center coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
and she's at 23 something. Her salary is 28,000, and she's been with us almost 4 years. I can't find it.
They're not numbered, but between the district attorney and 83rd District Court, it's about a little bit more than halfway through. 83rd District Court is before it. Risk management before it, and the sheriff, I think. You get to the sheriff, about 3 pages down. All right?
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
It's there.
It's the one right after risk management.
I'm looking at the other one, I hadn't looked at the percentage one. And the percentage one, it's
8.2.
So that's why we changed her salary, because we knew that compared to the duties that she was performing, she was at the wrong pay scale, and I feel she's also one of the ones that's still at the wrong pay scale right now.
The community center?
Yeah.
I have, well, let him get that.
Go ahead.
No, doesn't.
So what's your proposed,
Well, the salary that she's getting at her previous title as secretary, now her title is community center coordinator. I think we need to adjust her pay to reflect that title and those responsibilities that she has as a center coordinator.
So what?
Well, I like for her to be making at least anywhere between 20 and 30,000. I've seen other court coordinators, and I know they're different, but most of them are $30,000 or more.
Can I talk or?
yeah, are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay,
And,
go ahead.
I mean, if we're just gonna be changing positions, are we gonna go item per item? I mean, I've got our secretary that, what's proposed on the community center, she'd be making an 8.2% raise. And the lady, the individual that takes care of us, the 4 commissioners, would have a 3.4% raise. I mean, you know, do I just need to say, well, let's change her title and get her more money? I mean.
It needs to be different. I mean, she's an office manager, she takes care of all of our paperwork.
And it's not so much that, you know, I think it just needs to be fair. And looking through this, I think it was a good start, but when you go through here, I've got some people making 1.4, 1.5 is what they're going to have as a raise. I mean, $430 some odd is one person that they were going to make. And then I've got a department back here that they're going to have a 21, an 18, a 10, and a 14% raise within their department. I mean, I just don't know how you justify it. And then if you look at those responsibilities, well, let me get back. I don't think it's fair for us to raise his salary and then in the community center and then our secretary, or the individual that takes care of us, end up with a 3.8% raise. But in saying that, you know, if you start going through here, you know, we could end up with $1 million increase. So, to me, I mean, you know, if you stuck with a percentage, a minimum dollar amount raise, and then a percentage, maybe that might be something that we could figure out. I just don't think that what's here right now, again, we're so far, we're at 1.5% increase raise up to 21%. I mean, it's just, we're all over the place.
Yeah.
Judge,
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to say something. I mean, we had talked about this last year, about helping the lower end of our county employees. Some of them are not even making the cost of living that we need to help them at that certain pay. We don't help them. I mean, some of them, I think that they're being underpaid. And the responsibility, I mean, Sandra is a county center coordinator, has a lot of responsibilities. She's a secretary, she's a manager, you can name it. She's got all the positions in one. And I just think we need to adjust her pay.
And that's a good thing, and nobody on this court's going to argue that we don't need to take care of the people making less than $21,450 or $21,500. That we need to bring up. And that's a simple motion. You know, set base pay at $21,450, and we're done. You know, that we can do with one little swat of the hand. We're done. But every department out here is going to argue that their individual worked just as hard as yours. I mean, we can all do the same thing, but realistically, we can't give a 15% raise to everybody. That's the money's just not there. You know, and we can go back and forth all day long. I mean, you know, if we want to start with one thing at a time, let's do one thing at a time. I just don't think that we can sit here and give everybody a 15% raise. And I can argue just as hard as you can that the individual that takes care of us needs just as big as raise as yours.
We've got a lot of disparity. And we've got a janitor in the library making more than the assistant librarian. I mean, we've got disparity all over the place. We've got some office managers making $30,000, $40,000. We got some making $20,000, $21,000. I mean, the numbers are all over the place. This that you proposed, Judge, what is the cost to the county to do this? Do we know?
It's on the back page. Isn't it?
$280,000.
$406.
Based on the information that I provided the court when I prepared this report, it's at $407,000.
Just to do this?
That's based only on where people are now. You need to keep in mind that we've got employees leaving, employees coming in. We've got employees leaving that are earning $50,000, $60,000, that are going to come back in at a $30,000 base pay that we have established right now. Those are the differences, so it's always gonna fluctuate.
This does not include longevity.
Absolutely not.
This is just,
I've got the longevity, but I did not include it. I told the judge that maybe we need to take steps to address one thing at a time, and maybe next year the court would like longevity. I know some of us,
But it's, okay, let's take district clerk, let's take a deputy clerk one. We're gonna give them $430 increase,
yes,
right? How do I do that? How do I tell somebody that, I mean, how do I do that? I mean, how do I justify $430 for this one, and then over here, I'm gonna give them $3,000, and then,
I think one of the
and then,
biggest...
wait a minute, and then another one is making $25,000 right now. I'm going to give him a $5,400 increase. He's at $25,000, and the deputy clerk is at $21,000. But yet I'm going to give one of them $5,400, and the other one I'm going to give $430. It doesn't make sense.
Because that's what they're already making. See, the thing is that you...
But you're giving them, and this is
But
really, really
Commissioner-
frustrating. He's making $21,070 as a deputy clerk one. I've got a heavy equipment operator making $25,000, 4,000 and change more. But yet I'm going to give one of them a 21% raise, and I'm going to give the other one a $430 raise, which I think is like 1%.
Because when you establish a pay classification...
That doesn't work, and I've told you all along, I don't agree with it.
and I understand.
can't justify it
but
to the people.
I'm trying to justify what I did.
You can't.
Okay.
You can't, and I'm not getting mad, it's just, it's really
I'm just
upsetting
saying,
to me
The thing is
that
that
I'm
when
gonna
you...
tell a person that's been with me working, I'm gonna give you $430. Another guy's making $4,000 than you. I'm gonna give him $5,400. Now, what's my morale gonna do? You know, the guy's $5,400, he's all hunky-dory, but the poor individual that took home $430 more? And then I've got and that's in precinct 4, okay?
yeah, you're getting some pretty good chunks this year.
You know,
That's
I don't
based-
mind, and I'll let you talk, I'm sorry. But then everybody else in precinct 1, 2, and 3, everybody else, the most that they're gonna get, well, there's one at 14. But everybody else is in 3.7% range, 3.8% range. So how do I justify to my guys and tell them, well, you know, you work just as hard as you can, but I'm only gonna give you 3.7%. But the other guy, he's gonna get 21%. How do I justify it? And I understand that you're saying, well, we put it on a chart.
That's
I've told
only
you all
because
along that
you've
the chart,
got
as far as I was
people...
concerned, I wanted up and throw it away.
You've got people at the base that are coming in at a base pay that's already been created, that is already a very low pay to start an employee. So I can't look at people and the work they're doing. I'm looking at positions and job classifications and pay grades. So when you adopt a pay table, which is what I presented, you're going to jump people to steps and grades,
You had,
and you're going to have the disparities.
we had a
of percent.
conversation with this one
Yes.
Sunday. I think the city had adopted this, right? Something like this.
Yes.
They no
Years
longer
ago.
do it. They no longer do it.
When I checked with the city, when I started working on this last year, they haven't, I guess, in their budget, they haven't been with the pay plan, they're just doing cost of living.
And that was another concern that me and you had
Yes.
questions on.
Yes, sir.
They're not doing it, and I asked because they didn't feel it was fair.
And I don't know if it's a budget, I don't know.
They
I
didn't
can't
feel it
speak.
was fair, is what I was told.
Okay, I don't know.
The next thing is that you are locking in the court, and I've said this last year and the year before. If we adopt this pay scale, people are automatically gonna assume that because we adopted it, this is what's gonna happen next year. If the court, whoever's here, in 2, 4, 6 years, whatever, since we adopted, yes, they can go back and rescind it, but we've set something in place that we might not have the money for.
Well, and people can't make that assumption because in budgeting, the court's got the discretion to say, we're going to go with the 3%, that's the next step in the table, and everybody's going to get an even 3, or the court can say, we're going to give a 5% cost of living across the board, which throws the pay table out that year.
But we
it's at the
adopted
court's
it.
discretion.
But we adopted
You
it. It only
adopted
works
but
if
you don't have to, you
It
don't have
only
to go with it.
Then why would we adopt it?
Well,
If we don't have to go with it?
no.
I think the piece we're missing in this is the starting pays for these positions. I mean, we have current pay and we have proposed pay, but the position starting pays. Because the problem is, the starting pays. Because you've got issues, and I understand what you're doing, and I, you know, but you've got issues, and I personally agree with Commissioner Owens, and personally with Commissioner Ramon. You've got people that have been here a long time in some of these road crews that are getting 2-3%, and you've got people getting 19% that have only been here months or a year, and that's it. You know, I understand the pay scale issue, but the problem is not where we're at today. The problem is the starting pay structure. You have to fix the starting pay structure so you can get the other part to work. You can't jump somebody that's been here 5 months to get them up to a guy that's been here 5 years. You've got
I
to
understand.
do the other part of this, and what we're not concentrating on is the piece that's broke, and that's the starting pay.
So then
It's not the current pay. That's something you can fix, because when you fix the starting pay issue, then you can deal with the other pieces.
And that's where we're missing the boat.
So
I agree, this is a good start, but yet we're not being fair and proportionate. We have, because some people have been there just a few months, and we're trying to adjust the starting pay, then that's why they're going up the highest percentage.
Yes, sir.
Now, whether we take up the starting pay, and the people that are there already, if they're not at the starting pay, can we leave them where they're at below the starting pay, and then they'll eventually catch up? Because if we leave it as it is, proportionately, percentage-wise, it's gonna be totally out of whack, and that's what Commissioner Owens and Commissioner
And I would
Johnson are
think that would
saying.
be-
I mean, we're punishing, if we're going to look at it in that sense, we are punishing we're punishing longevity, which is the one that we should be rewarding, really.
Yeah, but we fix longevity with longevity pay.
Yeah.
We don't fix it with this, we
With
fix
that.
longevity with longevity
It's two separate
pay.
things.
Now, we've got,
Now, the court can adopt a classification, which is only the positions, and then adopt a base pay for those positions, if the court so wishes, and just not adopt a pay plan that classifies everybody, and then say, based on the fact that we're adopting a classification with a base, then the court can say, we're going to give employees a 4 or 5% across the board.
We just went 4 or 5%.
Can
I don't
we-
know, 3%.
Juanita, can we,
That's the court.
and I don't know if this is a question for you or for our attorney, can we raise the base pay, but yet have someone that's already with the county stay below the base pay, and give them let's say, instead of going up, giving them 20% to come up to the base, give them 5%?
Yeah, but that doesn't,
I don't know that you have
well,
a...
that doesn't work, Commissioner, because then if you hire a new guy tomorrow, he's gonna come in at a higher pay, so
Yeah.
the
And
numbers
then
don't work.
they
There's
don't.
two people, if, the lowest base pay that we have is the $19,712.
Mhm.
There's only 2 people that are there right now. I was looking through, and I think there's only 2 people. In order to get them to the 21,450 that is proposed being, I think the proposed base pay for the lowest base pay is 21,450, which is $11 an hour. It would be $1,737.50. It's an 8.8% increase. And it would only be, that would be the most increase for those 2 people. Everybody else, if you look at it, and if we stayed within that range versus the 21 and the 14s and the, but if we stayed within that percentage there, you only have 2 people that are gonna make at the most an 8.8% increase. The rest of them, we're gonna be making, I would think, you give those 2 people their 8.8% raise, $1,737.50. And the rest of them, if you were to give everybody a minimum of $1,500 and then figure out what else you're gonna give, or at least $1,500. And then you sort of move everybody up in increments versus trying to figure out a percentage for each individual person. I don't know.
And I still believe we need to address the situations that we have, like employees, like with Commissioner Flores, Sandra Velez. She is underpaid for what she does and running the operation there. Talking to the judge, the situation in my office, you know, the lady that I hired, these people have to do benefits, they have to take care of insurance for employees, set them up in the system, make sure payroll's done, and to bring in an employee earning $20,000 is just beyond understanding, you know, I mean, you can't.
And again, Commissioner Owens mentioned our secretary. She does work for 4 commissioners, plus she helps out with the fairgrounds and with the parks, and
they're
whatever else they
classified.
give her, yet, and she's the only one in our office, yet there are clerks that are making, or are earning quite a bit more than her, but yet they've got 2, 3, 4, 5 different clerks working in the same office, so she's not saddled down with all the duties like our secretary is. Now, you have the JPs, Juanita, 3 of them are going up to 64,000, and 1 you're keeping under 64,000. Is there a reason for that? Because she's one of the longest serving JP precinct
You
1.
see, and that's all based on current salaries. I can't change what the salaries are right now.
Okay.
You know, going back to you saying that the positions and such, we're always gonna have the problem of not having people classified. If the court would also consider adopting a classification. A classification does not talk about pays, but it classifies positions and duties in a category where everybody that is a deputy clerk 1 is going to be hired as a deputy clerk 1 or a clerk 1 or as a receptionist. It differentiates from a heavy equipment operator and driver
Right.
that are governed by drug testing.
Let me go back to where you said everything goes on the current salary. All the JPs right now are making the same thing. They're earning the same thing, yet one of them does not go up like the others do.
Okay, I need to go look.
You're talking about the elected
JP1.
officials?
Yes, the elected official JP 1?
Well, in the rule, or the way it's explained at the back, it says all elected officials are gonna get a 3% raise.
Right.
But JP 2, 3, and 4 got a 4%.
Yes.
So it's probably just a calculation.
Probably in there.
So-
I'll go look at that.
They should all be the same salary.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other 3 are coming down to 3% versus 4%.
Based
They
on-
all, yeah, they all should
Based
be at
on what's
3.
in here.
Right.
They all should be at 3,
Okay.
and I probably got it mixed up with my spreadsheet when you asked me to do a 4%
And,
across the board.
And the other, your computer's rounding up on the percentages,
Okay.
because what you're, on a bunch of this that we're saying it's 2%, it's not really a 2%, it's like a 1.5, 1.6, and if you do a true 2%, I'll give you an example. Administrative assistant, you have down that it's a 2% raise. 2% raise would be $882, but he's only getting $684. Then
I'll go look at that.
there's a bunch of that
I'll
all
look
the
at
way
the
through.
formula.
Yeah,
I'll look at the formula.
you know, so if we're gonna give a 2%, if the court decides to stick something close to this, if you're gonna give a true 2%, it should be a true 2. I don't, this is really frustrating. I mean, because it's like we're all trying to come up with the right answer.
Right.
Well,
And it's just really, really difficult. I mean, and I'm getting loud and I'm not getting mad. It's just
No,
that it's
I
it's like
understand.
I can't figure out to where I could say, this is correct. Well, you know,
Commissioner, I don't take
right.
offense. You know, I'm trying to do what's in the best interest of the court and our employees,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm not trying to get the court to go into a situation where we're gonna pay out a lot of money. I'm a taxpayer, part of this community too, so we all get an impact one way or another.
What was the term you just used?
I think if we look
It wants to
even
be
at just
fair.
the classification itself and do a base,
You said so.
is gonna
That's
get
the
us
best
somewhere.
term.
Equitable.
But right now, we're saying, you know, like Commissioner Flores is saying, moving Sandra Vela into this, where do you put her? I mean, where is that classification of employees that are like Sandra? You don't, all you're doing is saying, give her this money. But where does she fit in a classification of position?
And when you figure that out, tell me, 'cause I've got an individual that works for me out at the fairgrounds that
Yes, sir.
also, that takes care of all the scheduling, all the,
Chicken,
you know, and we can,
everything else.
and again, we can sit here and argue all day long on the behalf of the people that I
That
work
are
with.
within
but-
your-
Within my department. But at the end of the day, it still needs to be fair for everybody else sitting out there.
If you base those positions on responsibility, I think we could make it fair.
Yes.
But one of the issues
they're all
that we
different
have in the
responsibilities.
county is that the departments are so distinct that you can't do a classification across the board. A deputy clerk in the county clerk's office does something different than a deputy clerk in the JP's office.
And that's why we set up in the classification, they are set up different, based on the job descriptions and the duties that the departments have provided us. Of course, to this day, you know, the job descriptions, a lot of them, we haven't gotten them back. We've been working on this 2 years. We've gotten some, but nobody gives you a definite seal of approval on that job description. And then we come back and post a position, and we add more duties, but we've got a job description that really isn't adopted by the court.
Yet you can't do that. You cannot post a position with a job description that has not been adopted by the court.
And we've
You
been
cannot do
doing
that.
that.
You can't. You can't. That's...
You're not supposed
That's
to.
the court's...
Well, you're not
So
supposed
it's not supposed to, yeah, because we can do it.
And because you did, yes.
Not
And we-
supposed to.
But you have the same disparity within departments that do the same job. You've got the district judges sitting right there. You've got 2 court reporters, and they're both making different salaries.
Yes.
But it's the same job. But they're not in the same salary. You've got clerks in the district clerk and clerks in the county clerk. Basically, you do the same job, but
But
their
they're
salaries aren't the
different.
same.
That's right.
You know, so, I mean, even within the ones that you can get to fit, we
They're not
still
gonna-
have
you're
a
still
pay
gonna have the
structure that is all
disparity,
over the place.
Yes.
You know, and we still got, and I've made this argument for years, you know, when we do these across-the-board raises, the guy at the bottom gets $300 or $400, and the guy at the top gets $3,000 or $4,000. It's not equitable, it's not fair, it's not right. The bottom is still at the bottom, and they're not moving up.
But
But that's how...
Commissioner, though, last year, I mean,
No,
I
it's
think we
always
gave
gonna be.
$1,500
Somebody's
Can't do that
minimum.
away.
I think we gave $1,500 minimum. That way would help close that gap a little bit. I mean, I think that helps. You know, and I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate all the work. I mean, every time I come up, I argue with you anyway, but, I mean, y'all put a lot of work into it. The whole thing is that it's just bigger than this. I mean, like you said, if you're gonna do something, then you do longevity, but we're gonna end up with a $500,000 line item, at least. I mean, we're already at 4 something. You know, last year, I think there was a step of giving a minimum of $1,500. I think the court can absolutely agree, I hope, that our lowest base pay really does need to come up again. At least to $21,450, I think is what the committee and all of y'all, that's a good starting point. But there's so many parts to this puzzle, I mean, it's
And I think a big problem also in the past, what they've done is, whoever argued the loudest was the one that was able to get the pay raises for their employees.
Or the ones who had access,
$40,000.
because not every elected official has access.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't even know that this is going on.
And that's why you're talking about the clerks, that's why the disparity in their pays. So, for the clerks, you know, how are we gonna remedy the situation and still be fair to everybody?
And that was the purpose of this meeting, is where do you want us to start? Because I know it's just like it's frustrating you, Commissioner, it's frustrating us.
all of us, yeah.
Because we don't know where to start. I mean, do we do what we did last year, $1,500 minimum, with the minimum salary of $21,400? Do we give the minimum $21,400, and then everybody gets 3%, but then again, it comes back to the person on top gets a bigger raise? But we have to, I mean, I have to propose something. I'm not saying that it has to be adopted, but that's why we're having it at the very beginning, because I think this is the one that takes the more time. I'm sorry, Mr. Ramon, did you have a question, or?
Yes, I know that this is a big part of Parliament, it's been going on for years, and I think the employees deserve to be the priority for the court in terms of addressing whatever issues is stopping us from moving forward. Whatever that takes, you know, we need to do it. We keep putting it off and putting it off, but we need to address it. So whatever that takes, maybe we need a plan from you that this needs to happen, and in this order. Right now, you have one of my, positions, two positions with distinct job descriptions in the same, like at 20. You have my district clerk 4 and my assistant chief deputy in the both classification. And I know that came about as a result of, and I'm assuming because we don't all have whatever the commissioners are looking at. I have what you gave me, which is my office. I know that their job descriptions are distinctive, and you do have those, but what I'm saying is, how can they get in the same, how do they get in this level, how do they get in the same one if their descriptions of what they do is different? Are you basing it on the salary number?
I base it on the position, like looking at yours, you've got 2 deputy clerk 4s. So I would think that you want to keep those deputy clerk 4s in the same classification. And then you've got your 3s, and then you've got the 2, and then you've got the 1s.
Right, but what I'm saying is, how did you get my assistant chief deputy in the same level with the deputy clerk 4? What was used? The salary? Only the salary? To determine the grade, the number? See, we need to know how this was put together in order for us to be able to address the questions. We don't even know if we have questions because we don't know how this was put together and what criteria was used to determine this. So in order for us to be able to even know if we have a problem in our office, we may not want to change it. We may want to keep it this way. But we don't know what went into determining what category. What is this 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21?
Okay,
What does that mean?
let me answer that one, see if I can answer it. I'm not
Okay.
saying it's the best way, I'm just
Okay.
saying how we started.
Great.
Your salary this year
Uh-huh.
was divided by the number of hours.
Okay.
So your salary was, for that many hours, $12.15. So you were placed in that pay grade. That's how it was done. So basically, the people that were at the, more or less the same pay rate were put in that classification. Okay? Now, I agree with a lot of you, that's not a correct way to do it.
Well, but
And this is not set in stone, but that's how we said it to begin
Okay.
with. And again, I want to hear from other, I want you to have a seat, let me hear from other elected officials.
One comment real quick.
Go ahead.
You know, Mrs. Ramon, that your comment right now is that we need to do something, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. You know, I've been here 5 years, and I think this court has been very responsible in the raises that they've given. They've raised the base pay once. You know, I take offense, and I'm just going to throw that out there real quick for everybody before they come out and speak. I take offense if you're saying that this court has not done.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw that out there.
But it needed to be a priority
I'm gonna-
to address
I think
whatever
we've
the
done
issues
I
are.
think we've done a good job. I think we can do a better job. And I'm not throwing rocks at you. I just want to make sure that before we get started going down this road, I'd rather not be aggravated because I think that we've tried to do a good job. We've raised the base pay. You have other entities within the county that sometimes have not gotten raises while we've been here. When this court, the way it sits right now, and at the previous court, and the courts before that, have always tried to make sure that our employees have had a raise where other entities have not received anything.
And if-
I
and if-
just want to throw that out there.
Okay, if you took offense, I apologize.
Okay.
Because we were talking about the current one and what the problems are, and I'm just saying that should be a priority.
No,
Can we move on, Judge?
And you know that, yes, you do that. A lot of those things, I didn't finish my comment, Judge, I just want to finish that. A lot of these things happen throughout the year within the budget year. When people come to the court and ask that certain positions and certain salaries be addressed at that time.
That has not
So
happened
it skews-
anymore.
It skews the budget for that year. And so that's how I think this problem of inequity all throughout the different job
Okay, well,
descriptions, the different things
You know,
have happened.
Mrs. Ramon,
And that's why we
again,
need to address it.
again, I think this court, these commissioners, this judge, these commissioners with the other judge, and the whole court before that, I think our number one priority has been the citizens of Valverde County and most of all, our employees. and I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Judge, and that has not happened, we're being falsely accused
Yeah.
also, we have not given pay raises in the middle of the year, the budget year. The last time it happened, it was with the county clerk's department.
Okay. Any elected officials come on up?
Did y'all have comments? That's what he's getting at.
Any comments?
After this conversation, he just wants to stay there.
I appreciate all y'all's concerns. I was trying to understand this system, and I thought that's really what you all had, but I'm now of the impression that this is not
No.
what we're doing.
This is
so-
just a proposed one, and I'm
Okay.
not saying that's,
Well, you know, change is hard for everyone. It always is. And I know you have to start somewhere, and I understand this is a work in progress. This is probably what it is. And so you're not going to get any definite answers today. It's going to be tweaked and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked.
right.
And that's just the way, but you got to start somewhere. My dad used to say at the welding shop, the hardest thing to do was start. You know, get prepared to do it. And I think that same principle works here. I came here to argue for my two ladies. And I think the thing that I see that's probably causing a lot of concern is the fact that there is uniqueness in the people that work for us. And maybe that's not depicted or reflected in this particular scale. And the reason I'm arguing is, I'm not arguing, but presenting this, I've got one employee that has 23 years in working for the county. I have another one that has 13 years working for the county. And the reason that I want to come here is to stress, if I were to have to replace someone like that, it's not going to be about money. It's going to be about the experience they bring to the table. And I could spend bukus of money trying to retrain somebody, but it's never going to get me back to 36 years experience and 2 people. And I'm trying to avoid the turnover that will eventually cost more in terms of efficiency, institutional knowledge, which is a big deal, especially when you're dealing with all of our offices. But in a court system, that's one of the reasons we went to the docket book system. This was an institutional knowledge that had been forgotten. And when we instituted it back, the people that actually were involved in it had forgotten what it was supposed to be about. Well, yet I had people with, I think between 4 of us, we had about 90 years experience dealing with things. And we were able to go all the way back to where it was supposed to be and really align the courts where I think all of them are now going to adopt what we were able to bring back. And the reason we were able to bring it back is because we had people that knew what the beginning was, what it should have been, and how it worked. And it's very important. I don't want to be losing people to go back to federal court. They're always looking to go somewhere else, and I don't blame them. But if I can just do something here and work, and it's going to be based upon this. My argument is simply going to be that I'd like to see Ms. Torres at the proposed pay grade 24, and her step would be paid, which is just the next step. And then for Ms. Zapata, her proposed pay grade would be 21. I'm just asking her to be at level F. It's real simple. I think it takes into account the frustration that you all are talking about. It doesn't take into account the uniqueness of the individual. And we do have some people that should be able to come up and talk about the uniqueness of the experience that they bring to the table. It brings continuity to our office. It brings stability. It brings efficiency. And these institutions are all based upon people. It's not about the computers. It's not about the electronics that we have now. It's all based upon people.
But would you not be arguing that, then, that your office people do different than
I know you're trying
the
to
others?
put me. You're trying to put me. They go talk bad about this office so I can talk.
No, I'm just
I'm not
saying,
gonna do that.
are the duties not generally the same? Because the argument I'm hearing from you is a longevity issue. It's not a job duty issue, it's a longevity issue. They've been here a long time, they have a lot of experience. That's a longevity pay issue. That's not a pay structure issue. That should be taken care of in longevity. Because they have served and learned and got that education. That pay should go with that. But what we're talking about is the two positions. You have one, Judge Henry has one.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do the same job? Not experience, I'm talking about the same job.
They do the same job.
So what we need to address is a longevity issue, because you do, and I agree with you, we have employees that have a lot of knowledge, they've been here a long time, they understand it. We need to address that in their service over here, which I think is a separate part of the pay structure that you have to have.
They'd rather see it in their salary, not some one lump stuff. I'll be real frank.
Well, I mean, you can do longevity numerous different ways.
Okay.
You can do it per month, you can do it per pay, you can do it per year, there's a million ways to do longevity.
There's only one way they want, and that's in
Well, it's more money.
They want it in their salary.
Yeah.
You brought up a really good example, you're paying one court reporter one fee, and you're paying the other court reporter another fee. Well, the court reporter I have has like 40 years' experience. Okay, I don't know what the other one has, and I'm not here to...
Oh, and I don't either, I mean...
Well, I can tell you, I would not trade him for anyone. He's been one of the catalysts for the changes that we've made, and he has given us some institutional knowledge and has accelerated the development not only of myself, but of a lot of others.
No, and I understand the argument you're making, but what I'm trying to do with this is get the jobs that match, the pay that match, and then deal with the piece you're talking about, which is the experience and the knowledge and all of that. That's another piece of this.
And I think that's going to come down to the elected officials coming to tell you about their people.
No, and I agree. I've hired equipment operators off the street that were very good equipment operators, and there's other people making more money than them, but because they started, but they have more knowledge, because they've been doing it for many, many years, maybe not at the county, but they've been doing it. So you've got that same disparity on the other end of it, so I think you have to address the longevity and the experience end of it separately than the piece that we're trying to put together on the pay. I mean...
That's it.
But wouldn't we, I'm going to bring this up again.
Okay.
If you have a base pay for whatever salary, and I mean, like you said, there's two different issues here. I mean, we're talking about two different things. One of them, we're trying to get them a raise, something to go through now.
Okay.
And then you brought up the point, well, if I have to hire somebody else, how can I do it? But that's totally different from them getting money, what they would get now. I think we'd raise the base pay. And, I'd said before, we have to give the elected official the right to hire between whatever the base pay is for that position and whatever that position was making at the point it was vacated. And that would be up to the elected official hiring upon experience at that point. But, there's two different issues here. One, how much money, what's going to be the raise that we're going to give county employees? That's one. And then we need to take care of the other one. We went from a 2.2% raise right there just in what you did to a 5% raise. Okay, and my thing is, when you're talking about that, again, how do I justify you getting, and I'm not throwing rocks.
No.
It's going to sound like it, but how do I justify, giving one of your individuals or both your individuals 5% raises when I have other people that work just as hard at the position that they were hired for, no matter what it is, but they work just as hard at what they do, and give them a 1.5% raise.
And
that's what scares me, Judge. And when you longevity and all this other stuff, well, if they've been here a long time, they're going to be making more than the person going in because they made their 2 and 3% every year for every year they were here, right? And again, there's two problems that you bring up. One, what are we going to give raises? What's going to be their raise? And then two, if she leaves, what am I going to be able to hire her? I think right now we need to deal with how are we going to keep them?
Well, that's what I'd like.
What's going to be the raise overall? Okay. And I would just be able to, his favorite word is equitable. And whatever words you brought up right now, I think both of them have come up with good terms. It just needs to be fair. And that way, when we leave here, I think we've done a good job versus 21% to 1.5% raise.
Well, before I even got here, my court reporter said, you know what, Judge, if you want to tell the Commissioner's Court that whatever raise they gave me, to give it to the girls, do it. So if you want to be equitable in terms of, Because right now, you got them with almost a 4% raise, and you got the other two girls.
No, and that's what I'm saying, that the raises, I think, need to be somewhere close to each other. Yeah.
But you've got the same problem. Y'all have the same problem. You've got to replace that man over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And you can't replace that experience with any paycheck at all. And so that same problem exists in every single department, is how do you get that pay structure where it should be, but then how do you deal with those years of experience and understanding? And to me, it's two separate pieces. I think there has to be the pay structure as they move along through the process, but there has to be something in place that gives them the ability, because they've stayed here and they've dealt with it and they've learned, there has to be another piece to this, in my opinion,
It's a
to
loyalty.
make it the way it needs to be.
It's a loyalty issue.
Yes, and I think you have to pay for it, you know, I mean, I think there's a cost associated with that, you know. I know with the state of Texas, they pay longevity, they pay so much depending on your number of years. There's lots of these communities and cities and counties and state agencies that pay these things for your dedication, for your long-term, for your experience and all that. So I think you have two pieces to this puzzle. That's just my personal opinion.
Well,
No,
I think
but
yeah.
in saying that, we've paid you for the time that you're here. You know what I mean? I mean, if you've been here 15 years, you've gotten a raise most of the time in the last 15 years. Is that right? I think there was only a couple of times. So I mean, you've been paid that.
That's good.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I was at the...
and most other entities, if you look in the 15 years, I mean, there's been times when I don't think the city's given any raise, or 0.5% or 1%.
Federal government didn't give one for about 3 or 4 years, you know, so, I mean...
So I mean, if you're here for 15 years, I guarantee you that out of those 15 years, most of the time you were paid. You can call it longevity, you can call it a raise, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You got paid more money the next year.
I would really not, I prefer not to have to come back every year to argue this same issue, and I thought maybe you make this
But
adjustment.
Judge, we enjoy you coming, and we enjoy the
Judge,
work.
we've been having this argument for 16 years.
You know, and I wrote down, every
I look
time you
forward to
come,
it.
I write down new words. These two were institutional knowledge.
It's true.
Huh?
It's
You know, I
true.
mean, I enjoy you visiting.
It's true, because once you...
What can we do for you to come more often?
Well,
Give them a raise.
no, y'all have done a lot, and I've got a PowerPoint presentation whenever y'all, I just show you all the improvements we've made in the courts and things like that, and y'all have been at the heart of all that. And I really appreciate all y'all have done, and I'm not here to give you any problems, really not. I just got to take care of these ladies, because I got to go face them and let them know, you know, I appreciate, you know, there's a difference. You got people that come in with enthusiasm, and you got people that come in with passion to do their jobs on a daily basis, and we've got to continue to fuel that. And I think that's something that y'all are going to have to come up with. And how do you fuel that? How do you continue to have them to do more and motivate them? And, you know, this is, I hate to say that it comes down to money, but sometimes it does.
That would require this court to give up some control and hand out merit increases to elected officials.
And I
And
wouldn't-
allow them to distribute them to where they feel they're best.
And I don't mind writing it up, but when you all make that decision, if you go there, I'll be happy to write it up and tell you, you know, how these people merit it. I would not come in here and tell you that about, you know, everyone. If they deserve it, then I would be happy to come up and tell you about it. But I only have really 3 people I really have to deal with, you know, and they've done an amazing job, and I think they need to be rewarded. I'm sure I've taken up many of y'all's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, all right, okay.
What I think I'm hearing here is that the court feels like the overall percentages of increases ought to be more closer together than what they are as the way it's presented.
And the minimum.
So if you came up with the lowest base pay and brought it up to the 21,453, and then you use that as your basis for the other raises, one based on percentage and one based on a dollar amount, then your percentages may not be close, because obviously the one at 19 going up 21 does not have an 8% rate. But dollar amount, you could adjust it. And so the individual that jumps up to 21,453 will still be the lowest paid individual in the county, and then utilize the dollar amount to adjust the other people. Just running real rough, I think the overall percentage increase would be less than what was calculated here. And you would have the ability to increase your lowest base pay, and then utilize dollars and percentages to adjust the others.
And that's what we did last year.
To come up.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did last year. Only have two people that I could see in here that were 19,700 and whatever change. In order to get them to the 21,450, it's $1,737.50, just two people. If you were to do that and do that, and then have everybody else at $1,500 bump, and then a 2 or 3% to people that are above 50,000. Because 50,000 is what breaks at the 3%.
Yeah, we did that.
And therefore, I mean, there'd only be two people at this $1,737, which would be an 8.8% raise. That's something, that's pretty much what you're saying, right? You take a dollar amount, but if you take, I mean, if you take this, there'd be two people making $1,700 more right off the bat, just to get them to whatever the base pay, the lowest base pay would be. Then if you gave everybody $1,500 up to 50,000, or $1,500 a 3% raise.
Yes.
Right? You still don't solve the problem. You still don't solve the problem, though, of our sheriffs, of our deputies. I think you sort of need to pull the patrol sector of all this, pull that sheet out. I mean, it needs to be put over to one side till you agree what you're going to do with everybody else. We can't afford to keep, just like we can't do in every department, but we can't afford in their office to keep bringing them in, recruiting them, training them, and then doing it over again. Because, I think there's some that are in the $31,000 range, I think is the lowest. I think if you get them to 34, you're talking $3,000, about 10% raise for only, I think, 3 or 4, and the rest of them would fall in that 6 to 8% raise. And that would get them to where we don't keep training them and losing them and training them and losing them.
So we have that problem in every office.
We do. But I think if one of the things with our base pay, though, with the pay schedule the way it's set up, is that we automatically revert back also when we lose them to what their base pay is, which I think in her office, in their office, I mean, you have people that have been here a long time, that you're not going to be able to hire somebody. It's like you, it's going to be real hard to hire somebody that's already been here. So you're not going to be able to start with the low pay. You're going to have to start up. You have to give the elected officials the opportunity to hire between whatever base pay is and whatever that position was making at the time. Right? That's how you fix the losing.
Well, what my experience has been is that you give the elected officials that ability. Every one of them is going to walk in here and say, they need to be hired at this top
Okay,
rate.
but is it bad? Because the top dollar amount was what we had in the budget anyway.
Well, it's bad because, let's use a JP for you.
Mm-hmm.
One JP may have had an individual that's been with them for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that individual's making $40,000, where the base pay is $21,000. Another JP has a young staff with only 2 or 3 years experience maximum. So because of the JP that has that one individual with that
And we had this argument
20 years
years ago.
experience making $40,000, that individual is going to get to hire another replacement at $40,000. This other JP is
So that-
stuck at $21,000.
So then do you go and adjust all the base pays?
You have to adjust.
That's what has to happen. Not the only thing that's
I mean,
going to do.
I'm fine with that. I mean, but again, I think we're talking about two different problems. One, again, what are we going to do for raises? Let's figure out our raises, and then let's figure out the base pay issue.
I don't know if everyone has looked at it, but the base pays, if you add up all the base pays,
Mhm.
add up like $4 to $5 million. Current salaries right now are 7.5 to 8.2. So you've got almost a $3 million differential between base pays and what are
People
actually
making.
being paid.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of leeway to increase your base pay.
Well, let's pick something and solve it first. Why don't we pick our, what we're gonna give in raises, and then we can do the second issue. But me and you are going back and forth, and the court is too, on two different things.
Yeah.
And just like Judge Cadena, we're talking about two different things. Let's pick something first, and then we can go fix the other. I think the most important thing today, right now, would be, what are we going to give in pay increases?
Okay. Commissioner Owens, I don't want to be rude, but the judge
Yeah.
had invited elected officials' comments, and this is what happens, is that y'all have the ability to discuss your issues and promote your positions. But when it comes to the electeds and we want to speak, it's not just me, but the other electeds, we don't have that opportunity. And as you can see, there aren't that many electeds here because most of them don't know what's going on, and some of them don't know how to speak on behalf of their employees. The first problem we have is with the job descriptions. Juanita sends out these forms and says, write a job description, tell me what your employee does. So now you've got 100 different job descriptions in different forms. You've got them classified, you say, Deputy 1 across the board gets the same pay, but you don't have the same job description for Deputy 1 across the board. So what I would suggest is that there be a format where they say title, experience, whatever, and the format's exactly the same. That way you can compare the job descriptions and then kind of modify them so that they're all similar if they're in the same pay grade or in a similar situation. That's the first thing. The second thing is whenever you adjust base pay, and it's always been the problem that the lower part is the one that needs the most adjustment, but on the other hand, you've got people that are making more money because they either have more responsibilities or have been here longer, and y'all keep saying, we want the bottom to catch up with the top. Well, you really don't. You don't want a Deputy 1 to catch up with a Deputy 4. So that's where your challenge is, to finding a formula where you adjust the base pay across the board, and in addition, give people raises that are consistent with the job that they do in the years that they've been here. And that's a challenge. I don't have an answer for that. So, I mean, that's your challenge, but I think it's important that you raise the base pay. I think it's important that you raise the base pay, and it's important that you keep in mind longevity. And you made a comment that people that have been here a long time have already gotten their longevity. Well, if you don't make an equitable pay raise for everybody, including those that have been here a long time, then you take away that longevity. So, yeah, because now you've brought these people that are in short term up, and these people don't go up, so they've lost that benefit that they have for being here many years. In terms of when you hire, what Frank was talking about, that you hire somebody with lower, if somebody that has a position that only has 3 years versus one that has 20, well, that's where y'all have your minimum and maximum. You're never, ever going to be able to replace somebody that's been here, 27 years. You're not going to be able to do it because it's experience that this person has specifically in the county attorney's office in that position, with prosecution, dealing with elected officials. It's going to be rare, but you've got
And the
to,
answer to that is?
you have to come close. So again, it comes to the job description that if you're in the job classifications, if somebody has, this level of experience, then it's this pay, and if it has this, it's this. So you do have that range, but it's a set range so that there's not that much discretion for the electeds, because it's true that an elected is always going to, not always, but most of the time, is going to get the most pay for their employees. They just will. Every opportunity you give us to get more pay for employees, I'm going to be the first one up, and, literally up now. So, I mean, that's, the other thing is that we need help in writing those job descriptions so they're consistent, and the way you can compare apples to apples, because the positions are very different. The other thing I want to bring up is that it's very disappointing to hear that elected officials are posting jobs with job descriptions that are not approved by the court, because the court has one huge power over the elected, and that's that you set the salaries based on what people do. Now, if elected officials are posting positions with a job description that's contrary to what y'all adopted, then they're violating a commission's court order, pure and simple. So, I mean, y'all have to put a stop to it. Now, attending to my department, there is, of course, no department better than mine. And I say this because not only do they do the job that is within the department, but we reach out to other departments and we help other departments. We're involved pretty much in anything that anybody wants to do, whether it's legal or clerical or, you know, coordination. So, of course, I'm going to fight for my people, but I do accept the fact that we have to have consistency with an adjustment to the pay. And every time you adjust the base pay, you have to do it across the board. And then in addition to the adjustment to the base pay, you add a percentage raise depending on longevity or whatever it is that you use. So that way, everybody grows together. You know, there's not this big jump, and these people get left behind. So.
But if we do a dollar amount per individual, then the person that's been here 1 year or the person that's been here 27 years, they still stay, the difference is still the same between them.
Yes, so you give them a dollar amount, and then in addition to that, once you've given everybody their dollar amount, you give them their percentage rate.
Fine.
Because that way you...
They're still, you know, what happens is that if you come in at 21, and you come in at the same time at 21, and you come in at 30, the difference between that in 10 years, you really begin to pull apart. Even if you've been here the same 10 years.
Because
so
the position pays more.
how did I become less important at 21 at some point? I mean, and I understand your point, but if I'm making 21, hell, when I came in, I was only $9,000 away from her. Now I'm $15,000 away from her.
Because that person's been here longer.
No, the same 10 years. If you take 3% or 4% to 21,000 versus 30,000, you begin to pull away.
Because that person started at a lower salary,
I
and that's my
understand that,
point.
and I understand that, but to me, that's not fair either.
Well, what you do, then you adjust the percentages.
And if I give $1,500 to everybody, then you want me to give you another dollar amount, and this is what you've been arguing, another dollar amount for longevity. I personally don't agree with that. You got your money because you're here. And I shouldn't keep giving you more money because you're here.
I disagree with that.
Well,
and that's it.
You know,
I mean, I disagree with that. And obviously I disagree with that because I have a very loyal staff
Oh, and I
who's been here
understand
many, many years, across the board.
You know, I'm sitting here, and one of the things that when I called you last night, you know, again, what we have right now does not work. You have employees from 2% to 3.2% in raises. But again, I've got people back in here that are making, you know, 8.8%, 21%, 10%, 14%. This thing is like all over the place, you know. And I said it when Commissioner Flores started talking. He's going to argue for his, and everybody's going to come on up and argue for theirs. The problem is that, you know, you want more. Judge Guy and I, we went from 3% or whatever to 8.8% on one of his employees. We're sitting up here trying to figure out a way that we just don't make everybody really mad. Because, you know, you don't mind making them mad, you just don't want to make everybody really mad. And it needs to be fair and equitable, I think, is what his comment is. And I can't remember yours, but it was pretty good. But it's just hard. I mean, and y'all are going to argue for y'all's. But, you know, I think what Frank came up with was close to what we came up with last year, which I think solves a little bit of our problem right now. And there's two different questions. One is raise again, and one is how do we make sure that if we lose somebody, how do we hire people because the base pay is too low?
Okay, we agree on that, and the challenge is that y'all have to come up with a plan.
No, I understand.
With input, and I may not agree with you, and so I'm standing up here disagreeing with you, and you're trying to convince me.
No, I'm not going to try to convince you, because at the end of the day, mine and yours are just opinions.
Correct.
And then what happens is that the court has the decision. Whether I agree with them or they don't agree with me or we agree together, whatever, it's, you know, we're all going to throw opinions up here. And then at some point, probably in the next month or so, we'll come up and judge will call a meeting, and then we'll have to take a vote on this after we leave here and listen to everybody all over again.
And before you take that decision, take the vote, it's incumbent upon y'all to get the opinions of all elected officials, because that's how you get
That's why we're here.
information.
That's why
Yeah.
we're here.
But not all elected officials need to be here.
Well, I disagree with that, because we did email them with their budget to all elected offices. And I told them we were gonna have a meeting today, and they give their input, and I did email everybody their budget, proposed budget for this year, and I did tell them to come today. And I also said that this is not set in stone. We're gonna have another one. This plan didn't work, let's try another one. And so I will email them and tell them, be here if you have input on my proposed pay increase.
And I apologize, Judge, did I get that in? I didn't get that in. So I apologize.
But I did email,
Mhm.
Elisa, the one that sent, right, we did send it, that we were gonna have a meeting.
She sent them twice.
Twice.
But it goes back to the same argument, and I understand your argument, you know. You can't replace your experience.
Correct.
You got a salary of $64,000 in here.
Mhm.
If I gave you $64,000, could you go replace it?
No. No, and that's my point, you can't.
Because you have a longevity issue,
Mhm.
you have an experience issue, which is separate. That position is probably not a $64,000 position if you go hire a new one.
Correct.
But because that experience exists, there's something that goes with that experience. There's a pay that goes with that experience for everybody. I don't care who they are.
I
Or
agree
what
with you.
department, from the guy that's down in the ditch with a shovel to the guy at the very top.
Mhm.
That experience and that longevity has something to do with it. You know, and I kind of agree with Frank. It scares the heck out of me to give everybody the upper end to replace, because we're going to have a huge budgetary problem in about 6 years. Because our base pay now will be $8 million a year. That's where we'll find ourselves. Every single department head in this county can come and make the same argument, and every single department head in this county deserves it. We have people here that are working, living off of food stamps and welfare and everything else, working for Valverde County. It is
And I agree with you.
inexcusable.
I mean, that's the thing, I do agree with you,
You know, but
and I
then-
agree with you that I wouldn't even dare to come up here and say, I need, whatever it is that Sonia's making now to hire somebody new, because I'll never find somebody like Sonia. And I don't expect to take my longevity pay and hire somebody new, because part of it is that you're rewarding her for being here this many years. But I do think that you should have a range, and that range should be based on a job classification that accounts for the year's experience, what you're looking for. And if you could get somebody that just started out and you want to give them a chance, so you give them the lower pay range, or you want somebody with more experience, but every pay range is different.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree.
Absolutely, you can't replace somebody that's been here for more than 20
And-
years, and you can't use that salary.
Judge, we all agree we need to increase our base pay. What Commissioner Middleton and our attorney have been talking about as far as the longevity and bringing somebody in at the level that the person that was there before was getting paid, that to a certain extent has been a problem of what has caused the mess we're in right now. Because there have been elected officials that insist on bringing people in at the level which the person that is being replaced was at. And that can't happen because they don't have the experience that left. So you're right, we have to have job descriptions, and we have to have a scale to where we make sure that we're not going to replace Sonia with somebody out of the county at the same salary she was making, because there is no way they can come in day one and do the work that she's doing.
So they're gonna get paid less from that.
Of course, they got to
They're
get
going to
paid
pay
less.
less. I mean, I think it would be disrespectful to Sonia to hire somebody at the same
And
salary that
that's-
she's making.
But you're talking circles.
I'm not talking
No.
circles.
Yeah, for one, you wanna hire somebody for less money, because it's not right, because she's making this much money, you're gonna hire somebody for less money. But yet you can't find nobody to hire somebody at what she's making. Which one you doing, right? It's like it's circles.
No,
Yes.
no, the second part, I don't even understand what you said.
You just said, what you said was, and what Commissioner Damon just said, was that you're not gonna hire somebody making, let's just throw out a number, 100,000.
Yay.
Making 100,000. You're not gonna hire
Do I
somebody
hear
at
a
100,000.
second on that? No.
You're not gonna make, she's not gonna make 100,000. You're gonna hire somebody at less money,
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're telling me, well, I can't find nobody even to to hire at what she's making, but I'm gonna pay them less?
No, I didn't say that.
That's just what you said.
I think that's what she was referencing,
Yeah.
No, that's what she said.
Okay.
And you said the same thing, we don't want to let them hire somebody at what they're making. Right? I mean, how can you not, I mean, do you want the capability to hire somebody at $100,000 if that position was making $100,000 or not?
No.
Well, that doesn't, to me, doesn't make sense. How do you know that if you bring
it's
somebody else in?
Okay, but Troy's situation is very different. I'm not gonna hire somebody making $100,000 if she was making $100,000, working here 27 years. But I will hire somebody at $70,000 or $80,000.
You know, that to me doesn't make sense. I can go through my department. I've got a guy making $28,000 that's been there forever. I'd love to hire somebody at $28,000, because if I do, now I can hire an electrician, not somebody that can run a tractor. And that's all he can do. But I'm not gonna get the opportunity to hire somebody at $28,000.
Because you want to hire a position, it requires more responsibility than the position you have now.
But
That's completely different. You're hiring a different
But I have the
person.
money, and the money's there, and you're not letting me use it.
And that's the difference, okay?
But the guy was hired, he's hired as building maintenance. But with that $28,000, he can run tractor, he can do this, he can do that, because it's based on experience. So why wouldn't I be able to use the money?
Because, and this is just
But
my
you're not letting
opinion,
me.
no, because you have somebody that's running a tractor, and you want to keep the money so you can hire somebody that's also an electrician.
This guy works too, but he's not, he does a little bit of electrical too, but he's not, I could get somebody a little bit more qualified than hiring the guy back at $21,450.
And that goes to the job description. If you want to do that, you come to the court, you change the
But now
job description, and
we
you
go
keep the
from
money.
this amount of paperwork to this amount of paperwork, nobody understands it, and we're talking circles again.
No.
And there's two different things. There's one, what are we gonna do for raises?
Mhm.
And two, if you wanna do the job description, classifications, and all this other stuff, we do that. But first, let's take care of one thing first, because everything all at once.
Commissioner
What are we
Owens,
gonna do for raises?
my discussion started with that. You guys are the ones that brought up the whole longevity issue.
No, I didn't
and-
bring it up.
Well, it came up, longevity, people have been working here, got to replace them. That was something that came up as part of the discussion. Yes, I agree that we start with pay, and how you start is you adjust the base, and you adjust it across the board, and then you give your raises, your percentage raises, according to whatever schedule you set, whether you want to base it on longevity, on salary, whatever it is, you use your discretion to pay that. But when you adjust the base pay, you adjust it across the board, and you stick to that base pay when you hire new people and give them a range. That's it.
And those are the two things that need to
Yeah.
happen, the base,
Yeah.
I agree with you. We need to adjust the base pay,
Well,
and the other one,
let's do it.
we need to decide on
Let's
the
figure out a way to
the
get it done. And again, we're just going around in circles. Let's
Yeah.
do one thing at a time. And the one thing is the increase. What are we gonna give as raises?
Correct.
And then if you wanna do base pay, whatever, then we can talk about it. What are we gonna do for increases?
Right, and I think that's the whole idea of this meeting, because I'm encountering this problem right now,
Mhm.
because that man, we cannot replace, and he's leaving.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe
Okay?
not.
Okay? Now, the district judges came to me and says, okay, do we have a job description? Well, there wasn't a job description. Finally, not on file, where there is a job description, not on file.
It was
Second, okay, the district judge says, we want to advertise for this one, and this job description, and have a salary from $80,000 to $100,000. Well, he makes $84,000 this year. So are we going to replace 32 years in one hiring? Or we don't have a base pay for him, so do we start him at 70 or do we start him at 60? There's no base pay for the auditor.
And it's a really interesting dilemma, so I think what y'all should do is pay Frank the $100,000, and then he won't leave.
Well, the only good thing about his position is we really don't have a dog in the fight. The district judges do
Yeah,
whatever
this
they
is
want,
true.
so we don't have to set it.
But do you we still have a dog in the fight, because we advertise, if you advertise from like they wanted to, 80,000 to 100,000, what do you think the people that are going to apply for are going to be asking for?
Mm-hmm.
$100,000.
Exactly.
So we do have the dilemma, especially because he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing is, I heard from the commissioner they want a grant administrator. Well, there was no job description for grant administrator.
We don't have a
Second,
job description?
no,
We've never had one.
we never had one. Second,
Shame.
what salary are you going to start him with? Do we include it in this year's budget? But that's going to be in the next meeting. right now what we're asking is, we're trying to get feedback from everybody, what's equitable pay for everybody for pay raise. That's all we're talking about. We're not talking about longevity, we're not talking about replacing people, because I'm encountering that right now with Mr. Lowe right there, and I even told him he shouldn't go, and I couldn't convince him. But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying is, we're trying to get input from the elected officials and say, what's fair to give everybody? That's the whole thing. Now, this is not, if I remember, you weren't here at the beginning, I said, this is the first meeting because 80% of our budget is salaries. And last year, I made a mistake of introducing it in August. I want to introduce it in May so we can discuss this, so when August comes around, we at least know where to go from. I don't want to wait for the very end, I want to do it at the very beginning. This is not set in stone. We'll come back with some more salary workshops and say, okay, we want some more input from everybody. This is a new proposed pay plan. Do you agree? And I told that to the commission. I said, look, guys, you might not agree, but we need to have a discussion. Where do you want me to start with? That's the whole idea of the whole meeting.
And I appreciate the dilemma you're under, with Frank's position, and I'm glad that you're doing this, because we really have never started on the budget process as early as this.
Right.
And this is the time we do need to start, because there have to be a lot of
And
discussion.
if I had to have it once a week on pay...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm just saying, on just pay raises, not anything else but pay raise, I don't mind having it.
Mhm.
Judge, on this paper that we got today, this proposal,
Well, Judge, I'm just going to sit down.
Okay.
you show the current pay and the proposed pay, but you did not show the starting pay. Can you come back
Sure,
with...
yeah, and that's what I want you guys to, give me an input, what you want me to bring. Now, from what I gather, hearing Frank and hearing Commissioner Owens and hearing you guys don't mind having a base pay of $21,400 with only two people.
Well, it's not two people, because I just counted, it's like 15 people.
No, there's a bunch.
There's about 15 people that don't get to that salary currently.
Okay, well, we can bring a proposal with that, and then we can bring a proposal like we did last year. People above 50,000 get 2%, below 3%, and anybody below 35,000, if I remember last year was 1,500.
Well, I think-
That's, my suggestion, Mr. Commissioner, instead of a combination of a dollar amount and
Right.
a percentage.
Mhm.
What I was referring to is whatever the dollar amount to bring that lowest pay level up, say that's $1,500, whatever the dollar number is. And then use a percentage based on their pay currently, 1%. So, for example, this foreman in precinct 4, he would get $1,500 plus 1% of his $45,000. And so you're rewarding the people that have been here longer with a percentage plus a dollar amount to get that up. They won't have, and that's what I was talking about. I'm not talking about limiting somebody because they make $50,000. Because that person that makes $50,000, in my opinion, has put in the years of service and has knowledge that you can't replace.
And that would make it fair and proportionate across the board.
And we can
Get the
bring,
same thing.
yeah, we can bring that
So where
plan.
are you gonna break that at? How are you gonna figure that
I'm not
percentage?
going to break it.
How are you gonna figure that
What I'm
percentage?
suggesting is, whatever that dollar amount to bring that lowest position up, $1,600, whatever that number is.
1757, let me get. 1737.
Plus 1% of what you make.
Okay, but how does that equate on the top end? You take that percentage, and so if that equates to a 3%, then everybody else gets 3% across the board, or?
No.
Let's take.
No, he's
let's
taking
take-
1,737 across the board for everybody. plus
That's not
one.
being broken into percentages, that one.
No, that 1,700 is not broken into percent. Let's
Okay,
take-
okay, I see what you're doing. So you're doing 1,700 for everybody plus a percentage?
My salary right now is 81,430.
Mhm.
So you take the 81,430, you add 1,750
Mhm.
because that dollar amount increase. Then you take 1% of the 81,000, so that's another $814.
Mhm.
So my raise will be $2,514.
Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll bring that proposal next time.
Wait a minute, I mean, we can figure out a cost more or less right now.
I figured it out.
Oh, did you?
He already had the number in his head.
What is it?
In other words, sit down.
I used $400,000 as the overall pay. And then I subtracted the 1% of the amount
Of salary.
current salaries. And that gave me a number of, the 1% currently is $79,540. So I took $400,000 and subtracted the $79,000, I came up with $320,000. And divided by approximately 2,200 employees, that's $1,600,
How many employees?
200.
How many- Is that?
I don't know
How many
But approximately,
I should 231.
divided by 2/3, or times it?
divided.
Well, yeah, but how much are you gonna give them? Are you gonna give them the 1,700?
Well, whatever gets you to the
My number came
21.
to 1,600.
Well, it's set 1,737 is the lowest paid person, to bring him up to the 21,450.
Yeah. Well, on my number, I came up with 1,600, so we wouldn't quite get to 21,450.
Times 200 and how many?
231.
So we'd be off a little bit. We'd be
And
off,
I think that includes part-time.
so, I mean, we'd be off about $40,000.
You're looking at
Yeah,
$390,000.
I used 400
No,
as my base.
400.
I used 400 only because this proposal right here is 407,000. And right now, we don't need to go 400,000 on a fifth.
Yeah.
This is just the first step, so we still have to see what the request for the officers.
Well,
I made
the-
a suggestion also to the judge and the committee the other day is to, y'all have tasked us with coming up with a dollar amount for the tax note issue. If we take everyone's capital outlay that they request and move that entire number into that tax note, because capital outlay is one-time expense.
Mhm.
So if you add whatever that number is to the other capital outlay items that y'all requested, 1.7 million,
Yeah.
maybe we come up with $2.5 million in an overall tax note.
Mhm.
And so you issue a tax note that includes the capital outlay. So capital outlay can come out of your budget.
Mhm.
You probably have enough room in your budget to fit all that in. And that's just a suggestion, but.
No, I think it's a good idea.
You would have a flat dollar amount plus a percentage of what you make with rewards longevity and go from there, see what the number is.
Do we, I don't guess we know what our effective tax rate is.
No.
We haven't got that far into
Till
it.
August.
The effective,
Or, I mean, what,
the calculated effective tax rate is going to increase without question.
Okay.
There was a $300 million increase in your appraised value.
okay. So our evaluations went up.
Mhm.
Valuation.
And would we have a general idea of what that would generate if we kept?
You're about $1.2 million more, if you keep the same.
Same tax rate.
The,
If, with that, extra money that you're coming in there, you're probably gonna be able to fit this in. You won't be hurt by adding capital outlay into a tax note and then using the difference for the salary increases this year, because the increased valuations are gonna offset those salaries.
Yeah. Okay.
what you're proposing would take care of some of the issues that we've been
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, the judge, as a matter of fact, did do more than what he wanted. And it's $100 more than what I would have wanted, so.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else?
That's it.
Okay, we'll probably have another one at the beginning of June. We'll have another pay raise.
You'll put together this
Yeah,
proposal and then,
and have it at the beginning of June.
We're gonna have, we should have some money out of that 910, after all that's said and done, in reality, we should have some money out of that too, right?
Will you distribute to all elected
Yeah,
and department heads?
yeah, we will. As soon as we put it together, we'll email you and then set up a meeting, another discussion in this one. Like I said, it's not set in stone, but we'll discuss it next time.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay? nothing else, means adjourned.
Thank you, Frank.
Told you throw it away. I told you. You don't listen.
Jenny, can we borrow the?
No, I'm not bothering you.